Hello? Hello? That doesn't really make sense. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oopsies. Bless me. Hi, I'm the Shelley, and I'm bald now. Can you shut the fuck up? If you hear banging, that's my hamster in his ball. If it goes away, that's when we have a problem because he's stuck somewhere. So I know everyone's all like, ooh, sound quality, but this is quality sound. The quality sound of a stupid hamster running into walls. I am introing a video, however, where I'm still blonde because for some reason I just don't have the first clip of that video. A book haul. And this is what I'm adding to that. Maybe he's too loud. No, he's having fun. Did I watch that video back to see what I need to say for the introduction? No. So if it just randomly cuts to something and you have no idea what's going on, it's because I did not do my due diligence. This, I'm borrowing from a friend. We're book pals. I mean, are my friends not all book pals because they make them be, I don't know. One to Watch by Kate Slim in London. This I'm mainly interested in because it's plus size rep. So it's plus size woman on basically a bachelorette type thing. Then I have Fence, which I bought at Unabridged, which is so far my favorite Chicago bookstore. I've been to at least 5 here in the city. I only bought the first volume, but I was really surprised it was only $10 because graphic novels are usually more expensive than that, but this is somehow gay. I don't know how, I haven't read it yet. Then we have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, Shuggy Bane by Douglas Stewart, and then The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, and these are really, really nice copies. So all 4 of these I got from a Twitter mutual of mine. She just posted a photo of a bunch of books, half of which she'd read, half of which she hadn't read. And she was like, I want to get rid of these, let me know if you want them. And I looked around. There were no comments on it, and it had been posted enough time ago that you would think there'd be comments. And I was like, can I have these? And she was like, yeah, just give me your address. And she didn't even ask, she asked for money, she didn't ask for shipping. So I got all these, like, wow, that's so nice. So I'm really excited. I've wanted to read these, the Iliad and the Odyssey, for a while, and these feel like very holdable, digestible, like, versions. And then I've been hearing really good things about Becky Chambers, and I'm really into sci-fi. So I'm excited about that. And then obviously Shuggy Bane, the Booker Prize winner and a National Book Award finalist of last year. Okay, then I have this. This is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This is the prequel, not prequel, well, okay, this is the first book in the series of Silence of the Lambs. The movie version of it is a prequel, but the book, it's just the first one in the series. So this is the first time, hold on, he's stuck. This is the first time anybody ever meets Hannibal Lecter. I had already been thinking about picking up this series. This may be my first official foray, or first adult foray into horror. Maybe not, I could be lying. I took a client of mine to another bookstore in the Chicago area called the Armadillo's Pillow. So Armadillo's Pillow is just like a kitschy sort of like a little dusty, a little eclectic, not quite organized, has like no copies of the books you want, 6 copies of the books you don't want sort of store. And I picked up Saga, which I've heard around the net a lot about, and I had picked up, once I'd heard it enough times, you know, you're finally like, maybe I should actually look at what this book is. And I looked at it and it was like 2 aliens from warring races, and it's from the perspective of their baby. And I was like, yeah, that does not sound interesting to me. Well, this is so freaking good. I went to do laundry after that. I devoured it. finished the whole thing, and I was like, I need to read more right away. So I went to a comic store. It's called Alley Cat Comics. I'm gonna link all these below. If you're ever in Chicago, definitely go to them. And I bought 2 and 3, and 2 I finished the same night, and 3, no wait. No, I didn't. I think I felt like I didn't want to pay $33 for these combined and then finish them in the same day. So I think I just read half of 2, and then the next day I finished 2 and I finished 3, and they're so good. I really like that the baby narrates. That sounds weird when you say that. She's narrating from like the future, and she's like, here's how I was born. Here's how my parents saved my life the first time, yada, yada, yada. I'm just on a real graphic novel kick. I got Farmhand, which is about this guy that figures out how to farm organs. And then I also got these 2 middle grade books, Amulet 1 and 2. And what I've realized about graphic novels is I don't buy them the same way that I buy books. The plot is somewhat important. Art style is really important for me. I'm not a huge fan of the black and white. I totally understand why they have to print in black and white a lot of the time, but I'm not a huge fan. And then I don't like super severe drawing styles. I also got on that trip, Juliet Takes a Breath. You're gonna say, wait, Miss Shelley, didn't you just unhaul that in the last video? Yeah, I did. But I unhauled the novel version. I got Clockwork Orange, which Sabrina and I had to watch on our movie journey, which, let me tell you, was an awful movie. It was confusing and weird and a little bit traumatizing in a way that, like, I don't know what's going on, but it's bad. So, but I'm gonna give the book a chance. I just have a feeling it's gonna be different. And then I also got The Boys on the Rock, because there are 2 boys kissing, and it's about boys kissing. Yes, Natalie and she wanted to go to Semicolon, which is a black-owned bookstore in the downtown area. Super nice, really good vibes. They have like a little record reading room. I got 3 books from Semicolon, and I think I got 4 graphic novels that time from Unabridged, but I don't know what the 4th one is. Maybe I didn't. Here are the 3 graphic novels that I got from Unabridged when I was with Natalie. These 2 I have read. This one is called The Perverts. It is about a trans woman's experience as a sex worker. It's interesting that it's called The Pervert, which to me attracted me to it, but I feel like to others might put them off from the story in a way that's not actually accurate to what it represents. I also got The Cheater Code, or no, just Cheater Code. And this is about a guy who catches his boyfriend cheating on him, and then in his dreams he basically has sex with all of his favorite video game characters, and that helps him deal with finding his boyfriend cheating on him and gain self-esteem and realize he's not gonna beg for him back because he's better than that. And then I got The Backstagers, which I have not read yet, but this is by the same guy that does this. So I don't know if I've talked about it in a vlog, but I read this book, I'll pop it up here, called Wind on NetGalley, or from NetGalley, and the NetGalley version was a published collection of the first 5 issues of Wind, which is the main character's name. When I saw the same guy's name on here, James Tinian the 4th, maybe. I picked this one up, and it's also about a backstage theater crew, and I love theater. So there's that. Then I want to say that I picked this up the same day, actually, because I know I got this from Unabridged. This is basically about the history of serial killers. So I'm all on that true crime vibe since I read Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. So I think this is going to be so fun. Yeah. From its prehistoric origins some 15,000 years ago, serial killing, to its epidemic surges in the modern world today. Wow. And then from semicolon, I got these 3 books, which I'm super excited about. Push by Sapphire. But I actually hated the movie Precious, and I really just think it was because I was way too young to watch it. Like, I think I hated it because it upset me, which was the point, but I didn't have the facilities to process that at the time, or the desire, maybe. So I read like the first page and a half of this, and it just was so, it sucks you in right away to the tone of the book, to her background, her voice, her situation. It's like right there right away, which is super exciting. And then I got heavy. I should have looked up how to say this. Kisei Layman. This is an American memoir about the experience of being Black and also fat, being an overweight person. I was drawn to it. And then I got Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. This one I had never heard of, but it's a National Book Award winner, and it was named a best book of the year by all of these magazines, which really like sold it for me. I was like, holy crap, how have I not heard of this? And so this is giving me a little bit Lolita, Dark Vanessa vibes. It's another theater-based book. 2 students fall in love, and their theater professor gets like kind of weirdly involved in their relationship. Then we are into the most recent books that I have gotten just Friday. Today's Monday, I got them Friday. That's a lie. No, that's the truth. So I told you I read Wind, volumes 1 through 5 in that collection from NetGalley. Well, I found out via social media that volumes 6 and 7 are current. So when I went to Alley Cat Comics to get Saga, I was like, I'm gonna check to see if Wind is there. And they had 7, which I didn't even know that they sell like the issues as they come out. That sounds super dumb. But it's been years since I was properly in the comic world, which I did used to be because my dad was a comic seller. But I'm getting back around. So they had 7, they didn't have 6. So I was like, yo, can you order 6 for me? And they were like, yeah, we can. So they ordered 6, and then they called me when it was in. So I got 6 and 7. And then I got this beautiful, beautiful hardcover graphic novel called In by Will McPhail. And this was the first book that I read this year. I don't know if I feel like I have to have mentioned it. I did mention it in a video because I was like, last year I gave one book 5 stars, and this year the first book I read I gave 5 stars. So I immediately pre-ordered it. Well, it's finally out. So I don't even feel bad about this one because I freaking ordered it back in January. So I'm just getting my hands on it, and I have it. It's beautiful and in person. So I'm super excited to now get to share it with like my mom and my client because, so you know how I said I don't really like black and white? Well, this book is almost entirely in black and white. The concept is basically he's learning how to have authentic experiences, like experiences that mean something, to be vulnerable and connect with other human beings. And so it's all in black and white until somebody says something that matters, that's not just like white noise. And then this thing happens where he just adds color to the eyes, and then the whole scene becomes in color. And part of me was disappointed that I didn't get more in color because they're like, some of these images are breathtaking. Let me show you another one. But it just makes it so much more impactful that they're not all in color. Like, it really matters, the ones that are. Like, look at that. Oh, just amazing. So this is the most recent book that I've gotten. And now that I've filmed essentially a whole entire video, I will now go over to the footage that I've already had for 6 weeks and talk about those books. Okay, bye. So I got 3 Chuck Palahniuk books. These were each $4, I think I paid for them. So we have Tell All, which is an awesome cover. Then we have Damned. And then we have Pygmy. And I actually can't tell you what any of these books are about. I love his style. His style is so intriguing, which I think I've said before. And so I couldn't not pick these up for like $4. Y'all know now, I'm obsessed with Erik Larson. I loved Devil in the White City. I just have a feeling that I'm gonna love anything that he put out. So I've been keeping my eyes out, and I finally got my hands on Thunderstruck and Deadwake. She wanted to swap, but I don't really, because I get rid of books almost, if I'm not gonna keep them, like right away after I read them. I don't really have books to swap, so I actually bought her The Way of Kings, which is really funny because then I 2 weeks later went and I bought it myself. But I bought her that, which is 20 bucks. So basically these were $10 each, which is just a steal. Then we have a couple of free library finds. I picked all of these up on different days, I think, from my one client who has a free library in her laundry room, so I'm kind of down there all the time. I got The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Keane. This is different episodic historical stories told through the Table of Elements. Is that what that's called? Oh my god, I'm blanking. Hold on. Periodic table. Oh my god. Then we have The Idiot by Elif Batuman. Oh god, Elif. I'm gonna look this up because I'll for when the next time as I talk about this book. This I saw on my Instagram not that long ago, and I was like, I'm kind of obsessed with the fact that it's a rock. And then I picked up Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which I've never read. Ugh, bad. Bad me, bad, bad. But I'm really excited about this. I have a couple of friends that really love this book, and I recently watched the Elle Fanning movie on Hulu called Mary Shelley, and I was kind of obsessed. I was kind of obsessed with it. So I'm really excited to read this. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're doing a good job. This one also I got from that free library. I wasn't sure. I'm starting to forget. But this is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sleep by Philip K. Dick, who is kind of a dick and is sort of misogynistic, but also Blade Runner. And it was free, so it's not like I'm giving him money, although he's probably dead, I think. Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson, who's one of my favorite authors. Her book Home, which I tried to make Sabrina read and failed. Well, she failed. I didn't fail. Or is her failing make me fail? The Nazi and the Psychiatrist. This is by Jack L. High. It's like a psychological study of Nazis and whether or not we can, you know, what sort of person becomes a war criminal, and that's just dope as heck. Then we have Convenience Store Woman. This is by Sayaka Murata. This I've heard a lot. Hey, there's a bookmark in here. Women and Children First. This I've heard a lot of good things about, although I can't tell you what any of them are. Then I also got Writers and Lovers by Lily King. This I wanted to pick up for a while too. Anything about writers, I'm like, sign me up. Then we got Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I've been wanting to read this since I read Normal People because I liked her writing, and also, no, there's no also. Then we have Pachinko by Min Jin Lee, sorry. This I probably won't get to for a little bit because it's a big book, and I don't know if it's supposed to be devastating, but it's definitely supposed to be difficult to read. And then we have The Overstory by Richard Powers. This I actually already have on audiobook, but I'm really glad to get my hands on it in print because it was too dense to do for audio. So now I'm either going to read it just in print or in print and audio, which is not something I've ever done. And then we have In the Garden of Beasts by Erik Larson. I don't even need to say anything. It's by Eric Larson. I said my camera was full. I can't say it wasn't because it... Oh, I guess, okay, whatever. My angle moved. I'm just finishing up. I'm done talking. That's it. Really trying to not get more books. I know it doesn't look like I'm trying, but I am. And have a good day. I'll see you later.